The March 12th City Council meeting in order. We'll have pledge of allegiance indication by myself. If you would please stand. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You will pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we come before you today that we ask that you bless this meeting, God. Bless things to be done decently in order as we are trying to impact this city for your people. God, we love you and thank you. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. 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 All right, we have a special presentation today by Councilman Hester.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Some men and women are born to change the course of history. These men and women of indomitable fortitude, unparalleled tenacity. They have all the ingredients of heroes. We have such a hero today. She's a champion for justice, a champion for peace, a champion for humanity. Therefore, here as Miss Christy E. Rashid is married to Shakura M. Rashid, is mother of Kamala Rashid Granville and the late Jamal M. Rashid, is the grandmother of Camilla Rashad Granville. Whereas Christy and her husband, Shakura, have provided over 150 scholarships to students from area public and private high schools throughout the Jamal M. Rashid Memorial Scholarship Fund. Whereas Christy is a member of Moms Demand Action, a grassroots movement of American fighting for public safety measures that can protect people from gun violence. She is also a grieved gun violence motivation speaker, whereas Ms. Rashid was appointed to inaugural Police Advisory Review Committee for the City of Chattanooga. She served as a Vice President Chair for the Bessie Smith Culture Center Board of Directors, founded the Real Respect Education Achievement and Lead Mentoring Program, is a member of the Chattanooga Hamilton County NAACP branch, as well as several other boards. She's a woman trailblazer. Well, I can say, Miss Rashid, she keep me on my toes as a councilman. Ms. Rashid, she is the epitome of what you want in your district. She's the president of the Lake Hills Neighborhood Association. Therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Councilman Isaiah Hester, do hereby express appreciation for Christy E. Rashid for her strong community political as an activist, dated this 12th day of March 2024. Let's give applause to Christy Rashid. Thank you for your dedicated service. Do you want to say anything? Okay, turn around. Thank you again. Let's say something.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To the mayor of this great city and to this great city council. I really appreciate this proclamation. And to my councilperson, Hester, I appreciate the work that he's doing in our area. What we're about is our community, is our family, and that's what we're trying to work with. As far as gun violence, it's senseless, and we will stop it. We will stop this by voting, by speaking on laws, and doing what we need to do as individuals. We've given scholarships and member of our son who, if he had lived, would have been an architectural engineer. To my husband, I thank him To the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, may I ask you to stand? I have a couple members here that find it not robbery to come out and celebrate with us. I have the president, Elizabeth Appling, Vanessa Jackson, she serves on our scholarship committee, and Councilwoman Coonrod. I thank you all for your time and dedication to this community because I know your job isn't easy. Thank you, and God bless each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Let's give a good applause.
All right, Councilwoman Byrd.
Christy, I want to take the time, my sister, to thank you very much for all that you've done. You're very active all over the community. I know you're active with 100 Black Women. I'm proud to call you a friend, and I'm very proud of all your work, and I'll see you soon.
I appreciate it. I'm still there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rashid. All right, council, can I get approval on the minutes? All right, minutes stand without objection. All right, if you will take a look at today's agenda, ordinances under final reading, mayor's office. If you have any comments or questions, please hit your light. All right. Public Works, Transportation, any comments or questions about those items? These are final read. All right, ordinances on the first reading. We have a few planning items. Councilwoman Byrd.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Tonight, I will be asking, at 6 o'clock, I will be asking that item A be deferred to April 9th.
Okay.
And item B, I have had a special request to read a rather lengthy letter into the record. And I would like permission to do that.
All right. All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Byrd. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question and point of clarification on reading a letter into the record. Is this from the applicant about the?
No, sir, it's not. It's from the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, who is not in agreement with the outcome of what the community wants.
So it's an opposition letter?
What?
It's an opposition letter? Okay. Opposition is welcome to speak, but we've never entered a letter as a part of a record like in a court case, so I was just curious why that would be requested in this case. And Phil, I don't know if somebody requests a letter to be made part of the record, is that anything about that in a zoning case?
It can be attached as part of your minutes in connection with the matter, but I mean, that would require each person to read it or not if you choose on the body. It's normally not written.
The council has already received a copy. I sent it as soon as I got it so that they would be fully aware. It was a last minute thing, rather lengthy, so the council is aware.
Okay.
If you would prefer it be attached to the minutes, if it doesn't need any action, I just need some direction.
And just to finish, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, based on it being circulated around, if Councilwoman Burrs wants to attach it to the case, I think that'd be fine. I don't know that we need to sit and have it read to us after we've all received it in email apparently. So just my feel, but we don't normally attach opposition to cases, which is why we have public comment time. So my personal feel. Thank you.
But that can be part of the record in connection with this particular rezoning. No question.
Does that need a vote of council, or shall it just go forward?
Should just go forward. You could just note that you have a letter and that you would like to attach it to the minutes for this meeting, and then we'll have it that way.
That's fine. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman Smith, I appreciate that. Councilman Ledford.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so an opposition has ample time to come and speak. This is why we have a set time for our first case. We have a public hearing. That's when opposition should come and voice their concerns. They are always welcome to send emails, and they can be attached as they are at Planning Commission level as an exhibit, but I think it's highly inappropriate, believe me or not, to read or to force a council member to read a letter into the record. Since it has been distributed to all of us, it is a matter of public record already. So Dr. Burrs, I think that's we're hitting on all cylinders here, process-wise. Phil, back me up if I'm wrong or if I'm right here.
As long as you got it part of your record, that's
Thank
the
you.
important part. Yes.
Yeah, well, it already is a part of the public record. Everybody's gotten it, whatever. Do you think it's also necessary to attach it to the minutes, Phil?
I think so. If it came in at this point in time, if you'd like to do that, yes, ma'am.
I don't care. It's,
Okay.
I need my colleagues' advice here.
Yeah, we'll just note it at the.
Thank you.
At 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right, we have other planning items, we have several items in District 7, just note, council, that those are good to go. All right, and, under resolutions, economic development, any comments or questions, hit your light, finance, mayor's office, there are several under Office of Community Health. All right, planning, public works, wastewater, Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have one item under planning, 2024-0032. I have spoken with the applicant. There is significant opposition, as I think I made clear last week. The applicant has requested a 30-day deferral to try to address those concerns as best as possible, and this evening I plan on granting that request.
All right, we'll be looking for that deferral.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Okay, public works, wastewater, we're under resolutions. Any comments or questions? All right, council, we've reached purchases. Look at your next week's agenda. Any comments or questions about next week's proposed agenda? Okay, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under fire, item D, we have a placeholder, and I know that in the past, council has been a little hesitant on placing something on the agenda without numbers, but this is a very important project. And as I understand, Chief, we do have numbers to plug in this afternoon, but just for, since we're in a public forum, can you share any of those numbers with us that we might anticipate seeing plugged into the placeholder?
Yes, sir. For the construction of the drill tower, we're looking at $1.375 million with a $25,000 contingency for a total of $1.4 million. And those should be plugged in by next week.
Okay, very good. And this is a very important project. I know since I've been here, since 2017, the fire department has been in desperate need of a new training tower. And we thank our colleagues over at the county too for chipping in on this. So this is a big undertaking, and I'm glad to see it. Because we use this tower for area training, do we not?
Yeah, it's used, not just by us, by regional fire departments, state, federal agencies, PD, everybody uses the facility. It was in terrible shape, so, yeah, it's much needed and we appreciate it.
All right, very good. Chief, thank you so much.
Ma'am.
You keep setting it on fire.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much. All right, any other questions about next week's proposed agenda? Please hit your light. All right, council, we have purchases. We have 5 purchases, 1 RFP, 1 emergency, and 1 renewal, 0 sole source. Any questions about those items? All right, please take a look at future considerations. Any comments or questions? All right, Councilman Ledford.
Madam Chair, I did have a question about the RFP. If we could just get clarification, that is for 211 renewal and not related to 311, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
United Way and 211 currently holds the contract from when this RFP was most recently issued, but we will put it out for bid, and United Way and whoever else is interested is welcome to respond. But yes, it is currently serving the function of 211.
Yeah, I saw the word call center services and I went, whoa.
Yeah.
Got a little nervous there.
Yeah,
So
211, similar to 311, but for social services and people who need access to resources.
very good. Thanks, Brooke. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Ledford. All right, any other questions about future considerations? All right, we have 1 committee today, that is affordable housing. And as a reminder, today we do adjourn until 6. So I will turn this over to Madam Vice Chair.
I'll call the Affordable Housing Committee to order. Can I get a motion on the minutes? Thank you very much. Council, today we are going to have a presentation on a new approach to our affordable housing pilot. The staff has been working diligently to take into account the concerns of the council that we have shared, and also the concerns of our private sector developers to find a way to make our housing pilot a useful tool for all involved. So I'd like to welcome Nicole Heyman up to give us a presentation on the proposed changes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hill. Thank you, Vice Chair Hill, and thank you, Council, for inviting me to present today on what is a very important adjustment to our current housing pilot program. I've met with most of you individually over the last few months, and I appreciate your input and thought partnership on how we can retool this pilot to make it the most effective and efficient tool that we have in the toolbox to incentivize the development of affordable housing. I'm excited to bring this new approach to you. The current pilot that we have just isn't working. It is a one-size-fits-all approach, and unfortunately, it benefits and gratefully benefits our affordable housing developers and our LIHTC developers, but is not a strong enough tool to incentivize our market rate developers to provide a mix of incomes in their units that are being provided across the city as our market rate developers build multifamily projects in the city. So we believe that this new pilot will bring the market rate developers to the table and incentivize them to add affordability to what otherwise will be just market rate development. We appreciate your partnership in helping us come up with this improved approach to how we abate taxes in exchange for affordable housing. I'm going to invite Sydney and Hanukkah to give you a brief presentation, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, council members. So why do we need an affordable housing pilot program? The basic challenge that we face is that as market prices and housing prices continue to increase in Chattanooga, salaries are simply not keeping pace. 44% of all Chattanooga households earn less than 80% area median income, and more than half of renters earn less than 80% area median income. So in Chattanooga, 80% area median income and below captures average salaries for starting teachers, our firefighters, bus drivers, and grocery store clerks. By incentivizing new units affordable to our workforce, we can ensure Chattanooga is growing equitably and sustainably. And so this is why we need tools that incentivize all new developments to include units affordable to our workforce and all households. PILOT stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes. Through the pilot program, a property's tax bill is reduced with the tax abatement, and the remaining taxes owed constitute the payment in lieu of taxes. So here's how a pilot program works to incentivize affordable housing. Developers consider a project's operating cash flow, their income from rent, and their operating expenses to determine if a project is viable. If the developer reduces rent, they're bringing in less revenue, but their expenses do not change. And this throws the cash flow out of balance. But if we reduce the property taxes by a proportional amount to the lost revenue, the cash flow comes back into balance. And so, an effective affordable housing pilot grants tax abatement in exchange for affordable units.
Now, the current pilot program has only one option. Half of the units must be affordable at or below 80% AMI, and this qualifies the developer for a full tax abatement on the improvements. To test if providing these affordable units will throw the cash flow out of balance, the developer performs a simple feasibility analysis. They take the affordable rent required and subtract the market rate rent they would get otherwise to calculate the rent loss. Adding in the tax abatement, we can evaluate the net impact to the cash flow. Because market rents vary by location, the one-size-fits-all pilot has different impacts across the city. If this project is located in the North Shore, where market rents are high, the tax abatement is not enough to cover the rent loss. On the other hand, if the building is in Brainerd, where market rents are closer to 80% AMI already, there's an overcompensation. Additionally, the half at 80% AMI approach prevents the pilot from incentivizing deeper affordability at the 50, 60, or 70% AMI levels. So we asked ourselves, instead of this all or nothing approach, what if the tax abatement was directly tied to the affordable housing units being provided? In a flexible per unit approach, there's incentive for any new development to become mixed income. Developers have more flexibility to choose their project's level of affordability, and any tax abatement we grant is directly tied to a fair price for the affordable housing units provided. The per unit tax abatement is calculated with a formula that sets the tax abatement to equal the annual rent loss, which is market rent minus affordable rent, plus 2%. That 2%, that's the participation incentive. It makes the tax abatement slightly larger than the annual rent loss, although only slightly. It helps to offset the costs of application and compliance reporting. Both the market rent and the affordable rent are based off of numbers provided by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which are updated annually. The HUD numbers adjust the market rent by zip code, allowing us to tailor the abatement more closely to localized market conditions. The formula then generates a schedule of abatements based on the project's zip code. You'll notice that the tax abatement scales to incentivize deeper affordability and larger units. Developers then take that schedule and start adding affordable units to their projects, and with each affordable unit, stack up tax abatement. And they could stop here at these 5 units and take the proportionate tax abatement, in this case 30%, or they can choose to keep adding affordable units of varying sizes and affordability levels until they reach that 100% abatement.
So currently, the Housing Pilot Program freezes property taxes at the amount taxed before construction takes place. This is the pre-development tax freeze. Additionally, the portion of the property's tax bill dedicated to Hamilton County Public Schools is not abated through the pilot program. This approach will not change, so that the city and county will continue to collect some taxes on pilot properties. And the tax revenue for our public schools will not be reduced as a result of this program. The way that we calculate the abatement on the improved value of pilot properties, tying that abatement to the affordable housing units provided, is the main change that we are proposing. The other program requirements are largely the same as the current pilot program. The eligibility criteria have been revised to lower the threshold for project scale for multifamily projects with 10 units or more in total. And this way, smaller and local developers are able to participate in addressing the city's housing challenges. All committed affordable housing units shall remain affordable for the duration of a 15-year pilot term. And after that 15-year term, projects will return to full taxation. Property owners will have the opportunity to apply once for a renewal of the pilot at the end of that first pilot term. And additionally, we're proposing a cap of $2 million in abatements so that at any given year, the city will not abate more than $2 million of improved value through this program. Finally, we're adding stricter measures to ensure that all units produced through this program remain affordable and high quality. Property owners will be required to submit rents and income verification to the city annually for all affordable committed units. To ensure all participating projects remain in good condition, the city will be able to conduct interior inspection of pilot properties. Those that do not address code violations will be issued a $5,000 fine per non-compliant unit. And in either instance, if the property is out of compliance, the pilot will be revoked. So today we've shared why the pilot is a critical tool to meet our affordable housing goals, why the current pilot framework fails to incentivize mixed income development, and how this new framework will give all developers the incentive to provide affordable housing units while fairly calculating the tax abatements that we're providing in exchange for this public benefit. Thank you all so much for your consideration and partnership, and we're now happy to take questions from the council.
Thank you very much. We've got one on the board. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go back a few slides, Nicole?
Well, let's hope. There we go.
Let's go. Yeah, I think you knew where I was, what I was about to ask. So originally, we had seen a full abatement completely without the pre-development, but we are now at that went away, correct?
Correct. So when you and I met individually, we were still trying to figure out whether we were going to change what we abate or whether we were going to keep the structure the same as it is. And we landed on, thanks to your input, keeping it the same as it is.
Okay.
So it is exactly as we currently issue our pilots. So the pre-development assessment is the tax freeze. Those taxes continue to come into the city and the county, as well as the county school taxes, which do increase over time.
Okay, yeah.
It's the difference between the current property tax and the improved value that gets abated on the development.
Which is the traditional.
That is a traditional approach. It is not changing at all.
And thankfully, yes, the school taxes are off the
Absolutely.
menu always. And that's rare because we are one of only a few who are actually do that in the state of Tennessee. And I think that's very important to note that we stand that ground.
We do.
Because we believe in funding our schools. So the next question is, I heard 2 million limit. Was
Yes.
that per project per year or a 2 million total?
So
per
a
year?
$2 million cap on the amount of abatement that we will issue in an annual year.
So does that mean first come, first serve?
Correct.
So if you're going to do a project, you better jump in there and get it and use it up. I would assume you would go to the max if you were a developer.
So we have created an incentive structure that you do not have to go to 100% abatement if you choose not to. So if a developer feels like 4 units at 50% AMI gets them 50%, and I'm making numbers up just for show and tell here. But if they feel like 4 units is enough, it's 50% abatement, I don't need 100% abatement, then we'll cap it at 50%. But we're hoping that it's a strong enough incentive that people will provide the maximum amount of affordability in exchange for 100% of that abatement. But yes, we would abate no more than 2 million in any given year.
And does this program not now set the groundwork for something that we had discussed in a public meeting and then our one-on-one session too, where I feel very strongly about our local partners? Does this not open the door for local partners to come in and become part of our solution? Because, I was not a big fan of putting all our eggs into a LIHTC basket. I'm still not a big fan of that and never will be. But actually, the solution, I think, lies in us, in our community. Does this not open the door for more developers to think, have flexibility, or even add to their portfolio something they may have not have considered in the past?
Absolutely, and that is exactly who we developed this pilot for. We really want our local community of developers who are already building market rate for multifamily housing across the city to be able to come and participate in an incentive for Chattanoogans that is building housing affordable for Chattanoogans. So yes, absolutely, thank you for recognizing that.
Sure, thank you so much. Madam
Thank
Chair, I
you.
appreciate the time.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole, you and I already talked about this, so I'm going to put it out there for
Thank
the
you.
record. I think the idea is good and has all kinds of potential. I'm curious as to why we haven't thought about doing this with quality developers with property that can be reclaimed. I think given there's a shortage of land in the area, given there is the need for affordable housing in the area, and given the fact that we have so many dilapidated structures that we're trying to reclaim and redo for people of all affordability ranges, a few of them have come down the pike now, why are we not offering it to rehab both buildings and the old hotel motel thing. And my concern is that I think the same thing might be able to apply to those properties simply because we're using new, fresh land to do this as opposed to reclaiming the land. Now, I know that redoing a property is more expensive than starting from scratch. I'm not naive to that. But we still haven't solved the problem of what they are as motels all over town, or there are some buildings, office buildings, that could be totally reclaimed using this sort of thing with quality developers. What are your thoughts about that?
Thank you for that question, and I think it's a two-part answer. And the first part is that this program is available for substantial rehab of the current inventory of multifamily, or as you said, the conversion of hotels to multifamily. It is not as appealing to a developer because what we abate is the difference in the value, the tax value of that property from where it sits today and what the increased assessed value is after the developer rehabs that property. That increase is pretty small. And so it doesn't act as a big enough incentive for our rehab partners to be able to get the value out of that tax abatement in a way that's meaningful. So this is really, it is available and we do offer it. It's probably not a strong enough incentive, and I think it'll take your partnership and council's partnership to think through, is there a different tool and a different application of a housing pilot for a rehab? And we just need to think through that. But if we, as we have done, stay at the pre-development freeze, that difference in the tax value is not enough to really attract that investment. So I think it's a wonderful way for us to start a conversation about whether we need a different approach for rehabs.
And
Thank you.
one follow-up, if I may, ma'am. So, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think we have all kinds of tools all there. The one pilot project, not that kind of pilot project that we were talking about, that we looked at earlier on, I think we almost need to think outside the box and do a cost-benefit analysis, and I'll use the Air Park Boulevard, which we've already discussed.
Right.
If a property is paying $75,000 a year taxes, and it's having police calls, there are police here, I don't know how much a police call is, but they're having 100 to 200 police calls out there. That's a lot more than $75,000. And I'm thinking you do a cost benefit, and can we afford not to start rehabbing these areas and making the most of property? So I would just like to put this in the mix. I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's an incentive. And as naive as it may sound, I think that developers might be more incentivized if they want to do business with us to do the right thing by some of these other properties. And I'm not a naive person, so I'm just tossing it out there for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to working on a solution for that problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Good, Councilwoman. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Because the slide that we're on here, that 100% tax abatement is on the whole building, correct? I mean.
On the improved value of the building
Well,
after.
Yeah. So let's say they started with just a raw piece of land.
Yes.
Obviously, that whole building is improved, right?
Correct, but that raw piece of land is tax assessed at some value.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
that's not where I'm going.
Okay.
Whatever it costs to build that project is the increased value, and that will be assessed at some number. But if they reach the 100% abatement, that entire assessment will be abated.
Correct.
Okay, that's where I was going with that. I want to make sure
Yes, sir.
that I did understand that. This is probably maybe a conversation for the council. if we're going to set the parameters and the matrix for this pilot program, and we are going to place a cap on it, and I've got a question about the $2 million cap, kind of how we arrived at that, but placing a cap on the amount of money that, taxes that will abate. I'm wondering, things tend to get political up here. And if we're talking about a pilot program, affordable housing, all of this could be decided by the HEB, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it could be that the council sets the cap for a year, the matrix, and then we allow the HEB to decide, I guess, maybe who gets the abatements, who gets the pilots and who don't, as opposed to this body.
Correct.
I mean, it could work. So, Madam Chair, I think maybe we need to have a discussion among the council. Do we now want to just set the parameters and then let HEB decide who gets the pilot? If we're good with now, on the $2 million cap, and this was my concern, is, giving away too much of the store, not having enough money for the services, the increased demand it'll place for services. How did we decide $2 million was the appropriate number, as opposed to not less or a little more, but?
So we went back and looked at what we have done over the years with pilots and how much we've abated, and it's a little less than $2 million. And so we feel like that is a number that can be absorbed into the budget. It's taxes that we're not giving up. It's just taxes we won't be collecting. And I think that overall, if we look at the number of units of affordable to our working families under 80% AMI that we need across the city, this program is one of our strongest programs that we have to incentivize the development of those units without having to come out of pocket with cash. So we are foregoing what we would collect in the future, even though we don't exactly know what that number is, as opposed to collecting it and then having to come to you and ask for an appropriation to build those units.
And I think probably annually, we would need some kind of report.
Absolutely.
On how much we've actually abated, how many affordable housing units we have, and at what percentage AMI. But I think that's all I have at this time, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Ledford.
One more question, Madam Chair. Councilman Henderson brought up something that I think along the lines. So if it's, earlier I alluded to a first come, first served, will there be a mechanism in place to ensure somebody who's really, really, really gotten good at this is not able to double dip, or it's a term that we use a lot, and that we create a fair and equitable opportunity for even new developers or developers to get into this?
Absolutely. So we will have an application process, as we do now. My office will vet all of those applications. I think all of you, with the exception of, I think, Councilmember Smith, has not seen the calculator that will go up online, that will be part of the application process, so that the developer will be able to actually go in and calculate the unit and the abatement. And so it will be a transparent process, and we'll be able to come back to you and show you for each pilot what that calculation was and how we got to the level of abatement that we got to. As far as first come, first serve, I think that, I hope that we hit a $2 million cap. It's a pilot of a pilot, right? I think this is, I have confidence that we've built something that is workable. We've worked with the development community. They feel like we've come up with something that will incentivize the development of affordable housing with market rate mix. If it doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll sit down at the table and we'll figure out where we went wrong. And either we're not getting enough or we're giving too much, right? So I think for the next year, it's really important for us to sit back and see who comes to the table, work with them, and make sure that we have something that is incentivizing the development at the rate that we can absorb and want to see happen in the city.
And you would obviously seek council input if there were ever a request to raise that 2 million threshold.
Absolutely.
And I would assume that any council at that point would requires substantial documentation and proof to do that.
We certainly would.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Just one more follow-up. Have you done the calculations on what it would cost to implement this program?
What it would cost to implement the program?
Well, so let's say we implement the program and somebody's hopefully building all these things. There's public works costs, there's all kinds of costs that go along. I don't know if fire and police, I don't know if even your department, it's almost like the fiscal note, what does it cost to go forward? And have you done any calculations? Would we end up being in a loss?
So I don't know if we've actually calculated the public works or police part of this. I think what we recognize is that with or without the pilot, our market rate developers are going to develop these buildings. They are going to be multifamily buildings.
Okay.
And obviously, they've calculated the cost, or they wouldn't be building market rate development throughout the city. We are in desperate need of housing. What we know is without this incentive, we're not going to get the affordable units
That are included in these.
that are included in this development. So, I mean, I would say that the market, in some regard, will take care of itself. If it pins out and the developer is going to build the market rate multifamily development regardless, and we present an incentive for them to give us some mix of income in there, then it's a win-win for the city. And I don't think there's a significant cost, but I'm happy to sit down with you and our finance department and see if I'm missing something.
I just need to know, and I think you're on the right path. I need to know what the impact on the budget would be.
Okay.
And it may be negligible or something that we absorb. I don't know. I just haven't seen that. Okay.
Happy to do it.
Okay. Well, Nicole, that answers all the council's questions. I just have a couple of comments. First, I want to congratulate and thank you and your department, Sydney, Hanukkah, for the hard work that you all have done. I believe and know, based on this work product, that you all have been carefully listening to what the council has been saying. There are several things baked into this that are exactly what the council has expressed time and again that we are concerned about. We are concerned about accountability of affordable units when we do a pilot. We're concerned about fiscal conservatism. We don't want to over-subsidize a product that shouldn't be. And we're concerned about quality. None of us here are just thinking about the 4 years that we've been elected to serve. We're all thinking about what does Chattanooga look like 30 years from now. And so I appreciate very much the way that you all have been thoughtful about how you have included accountability for the quality of units, and the way that you have been granular in a very good way to allow a developer to create a mix of different sizes of units, of different depth of affordability of units. This work product, this proposed pilot, to me is representative of a very truly Chattanooga solution, where our housing action plan was kind of one size fits many communities, right? This feels like a Chattanooga-centric way that I believe, Nicole, you said, it gives Chattanoogans the ability to build housing for Chattanoogans. I love that we have moved to a minimum of 10 housing units that then can be included in the pilot. And I appreciate so much the feedback from my colleagues. I've made some notes for our work moving forward as the Affordable Housing Committee, that we need to, after we've squared away what the new pilot program will be, that we need to be looking at how do we make rehabilitation of buildings work in Chattanooga in the way that we've seen it work in some other communities. Thank you, Councilwoman Burrs, for bringing that to us. And then Councilman Henderson brought up the points that we as a council should consider if we want to streamline our process more. Thank you for that, Councilman Henderson, about potentially sending these direct to HEB once the council is comfortable with the matrix that we create. Please, when you bring the resolution to us in a couple of weeks, include an annual report and consideration of the cap after year one. And then also, I think that it was Councilman Ledford that brought up the point about the first come, first serve and making sure that we create an equitable process. And so that's something that once the council gets our report with the equity framework, that we can use as a way to evaluate how we want to be thinking about this pilot after year one, and we see what the results are, so that we know that smaller businesses are able to participate in an equitable way in comparison with very large companies that are perhaps have greater capacity to receive financing. So thank you very much for the work that you all have done. I personally appreciate it. I believe that the council does as well, because we've had some really thoughtful feedback, and I'm hopeful that we'll be smooth sailing moving into the vote in a couple weeks. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Council. We will recess until 6 o'clock. I don't have to slam it.
Good job keeping this thing.
Do you see Tyson here?
I do not see Tyson.